Hey everybody, it's Mike Jeffers, Chicago Jazz Magazine, ChicagoJazz.com, and welcome to Talkin' Jazz. We are here at the Epiphany Center for the Arts, 201 South Ashland, opening up in April, so stay tuned for more info on that. And I am pleased to be joined by Chris Greene and Marc Piane. They are both here, and we are going to be talking about the Chris Greene Quartet. It's almost like an annual thing you're doing at Evanston SPACE, evanstonspace.com, March 1st. Yep. And tell us a little bit about it. I know you guys love performing at Evanston SPACE. I mean, it's a killer room.
It's a killer room. I get to play the hometown hero. I'm from Evanston, obviously.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It's a great place to see a show, great place to play. They treat you really, really nice. It's, you know, you can record there. It's just it's a fun room, you know, just a fun place to play. So.
Well, and you like what you said, you went to Evanston High School. Mm-hmm. You've got that Evanston hometown advantage, right? It's almost like the home court advantage, but the hometown advantage. Because you don't play a lot in Evanston, right? I mean, you play all over the city, but then you also play all over the Midwest.
Right.
But Evanston isn't somewhere where you're at a lot.
No, and there's really a handful of places to play. I mean, there used to be Pete Miller's. We used to play there a lot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is like a place where, you know, the sounds are good. Every seat is a great place to see the stage. You know, Damien gets to play on a real piano. You know, it's just a great room.
Yeah. So now you've been in the group with Chris almost since the beginning. Since the beginning. How many years has this been?
15. Yeah, 15. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, 2005 was the first gig.
I know last time you were on the show, we talked a lot about that because it's fascinating to me to be able to play jazz and be actually in a group with the same people, which is not normal. It doesn't happen all the time, especially for 15 years. Yeah. You know.
Well, and Chris goes out of his way to make sure that it's almost always the core group of guys. It's very rare we get subs, and we've been fortunate because we've been doing this for so long that oftentimes if a club comes to us and gives us a date and we're not all free, they'll give us another date. You know, when you're first starting off, you've got to take any gig.
Right. Yep.
You know, we've been around long enough that's like, you know what, we're not all free that date.
Right.
So they give us a second one to choose from.
That's awesome.
And it's, you know, it's important. Like, we want to put our best foot forward. The people who've been following us around know. I mean, Mark and Damien and Steve are just as important as I am, and so they know. People who know me also know Mark pretty well. So it's important to keep that consistency. That, you know, people can go see us, who've seen us 2 years ago, can see us, you know, at Space or whatever, and talk about like how we've evolved or grown or whatever. So things like that are important.
We get, people mention, we just did a radio thing the other day, and the DJ was mentioning, like, you guys are like a band. It's always, you know,
it's crazy, right?
It's something that always comes up because it's so rare to see, you know, especially in the jazz community.
Well, it is rare, and also just from a standpoint of you guys playing together and being cohesive, I think jazz is one of those, you know, I mean, it's like, it's rare to have that happening in jazz, but really you need it to happen in jazz in order to really be able to improvise to your full extent, right? I mean, talk a little bit about that, Mark.
I mean, you could, you know, when you trust the people that you're playing with implicitly, I mean, it's scary sometimes. Like, I know where people are going to go before they go there. You know, people know where I'm going to go before I go there. We've just, you know, developed this like group telepathy, you know, that only comes with playing with the same people for a long time. And
from playing on top of, you know, Mark playing bass and Damien playing piano and yourself, who's playing drums again?
Steve Corley.
Steve Corley. He's been in there. I remember we talked. He's like the youngest member. He's only been
he's
there
a
for
new
like
guy.
10
He's
years.
the new guy. He's been with us for 10 years now. So he's the new guy.
He passed the audition.
Right. So he gets to stay.
So, I mean, but being able to play on top of that and hearing them play little nuances still after all these years, and it probably is really helping you kind of grow your soloing too, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're all trying to get better, you know, both as a band and individually, you know. We're always talking about music, and we're always putting each other up on, hey, have you checked this out? Have you listened to this? Have you listened to that? Or whatever. So we're always individually, we're always trying to get better, and everybody brings something to the table. You know, there's always, you know, something new. Like Damien will do something that he didn't do 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, whoa, what are you working on? Or, wow, your sound's gotten fuller on the bass or whatever. Or, you know, you've gotten a lot more fluid on the electric or whatever. So it's just everybody's really constantly like trying to up their game, and that helps me as a soloist and as a writer, and that translates to the audience because they hear the growth as well.
Sure, yeah.
Well, and it's fun too to hear like, songs over the years kind of organically evolve. On the rare occasion, we were just talking about this the other day, on the rare occasion that we do use a sub, we have a book, because we do a lot of original tunes.
Yeah, right.
So we've got a book, and then we give the book to them, and then somebody will be like, you guys are not playing this here, and so we have to update the book because for us, we don't realize that it's not the way that we originally did it. It's just evolved organically.
It's shifting or whatever, or I'll put an accent in a different place or whatever. I'll start the melody a bar or something earlier than I normally do or whatever.
Yeah.
So
you can hear all of this on March 1st at Evanston SPACE, 1245 Chicago Avenue in Evanston. I think it's a 6:30 doors, 7:30 start, right?
That's right.
And of course, chrisgreenejazz.com for more information on that. But you also have another show coming up April 3rd. And it's part of the Jazz Institute of Chicago's series, and it's a tribute to Eddie Harris, I think, right?
So every year, the Jazz Institute pick out an artist to set up a series of concerts to pay tribute to. And this year is Eddie Harris, who, interesting guy, had a phenomenal success throughout his career, was on a major label, was known for all these, like electric saxophone and playing a saxophone with a trumpet mouthpiece and adding all these weird effects to a saxophone and dabbled in funk and all this other stuff. Had tremendous success, but interestingly was severely underrated as a player and as a composer. And so they're having several concerts in his honor over the course of this year. And I really wanted, we were asked to do it, and originally they asked us, if you just want to play your stuff and talk about what an influence Eddie's had on you, that'd be fine. And at first I was going to go ahead and do that, but then I thought, you know what? Yeah. First of all, they're going to all the trouble to put on these concerts. He's written. He has his hits, obviously, the Listens Here and the Freedom Jazz Dance and all that stuff.
Right.
But there are what gets lost on the shuffle. In addition to him being a fantastic player and an innovator, he wrote some really, really cool tunes that no one ever plays. And so what I wanted to kind of focus on those songs that people don't really talk about. So like Boogie Woogie Bossa Nova, and Don't You Know the Future's in Space, and there's a bunch of songs that are just really, really interesting songs that unfortunately don't get played because Freedom Jazz Dance or Listen Here or Compared to What were just such monster hits.
Right.
So we want to kind of focus on those as well.
That's interesting, and I'm glad they're picking Eddie Harris to focus on this here because you're right. I mean, he has a lot of tunes.
Yes.
Man, but nobody plays them.
Yeah.
Because it's just not standard repertoire, and somebody would have to go out of their way to actually learn them.
Exactly.
Like yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's so.
And Mark and the band.
And we're just crazy enough to do it.
Well, it's been fun because we've done a few of those Fulton.
Oh, the Fulton Street Collective, the Jazz Record Art Collective. Yeah.
So we just did.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, we just did Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Gets record. So it's been kind of fun to really dig into an artist, and in that case you're learning a specific record.
Right.
But to delve into the artists, to delve into their compositions, and to listen to maybe some players that you don't usually listen to, that might have a little bit of an influence on how you play things.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting to me because the Jazz Record Art Collective is great because they pick an album and a band comes in and plays that album, which means there's a lot of rehearsals leading into that album because you can't just walk in and say, hey, that's cool, let's just do this. But I think, to your point, it probably, you get into the nuances of playing tunes like you're playing the tunes, like really listening, not just reading off of the lead chart.
Sure.
And you probably pick a lot of stuff up that why would you have ever discovered that if you're just gigging all the time or playing stuff? So I think it brings it to another level, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, and what's cool about this whole experience is that I had about 2 or 3 Eddie Harris albums, but it kind of and he was one of those guys that I always meant to I got to get into him at some point.
Yeah.
A, he's a Chicago boy. B, we're in a weird way we're kind of kindred spirits because we're jazz players that have an affinity for the funk, much as in the way So it's okay, right away we're kind of kindred spirits. But then it was also I need to really delve into them, and the universe works in this weird way where
Yeah.
like you get offered this unique opportunity to put on some kind of tribute concert to this great man, and it's like, okay, if I'm going to do this, let me step outside of the 5 or 6 tunes that everybody plays of his, and let me focus on some of the more unusual songs.
And you did write a tune that's an homage to him.
True, yes, we do have a song called Here to Help that we play a lot, which starts out as kind of like a Eddie Harris, late 60s kind of boogaloo kind of vibe.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So what's all the details on that? Do you have it? I
yes.
know it's at jazzinchicago.org is the Jazz Institute's website, so
Yes.
they can get information, but what's the details
I
on this
believe
one?
the concert's at Loyola Park on Friday, April
3rd,
3rd.
yeah.
And I think we start at 7, and it'll be the 4 of us, Mark, myself, Damien, and Steve, and the great trumpet player John Moore is going to be playing with
yeah.
us as well. So we're just going
That'll
to
be
make it
fun.
a quintet. So
And the cool thing with the Jazz Institute is that those are always free concerts
Yes.
too, so that's always free as well. And of course, all the information at chrisgreenjazz.com.
Absolutely.
And I would assume that you're going to probably be touring this summer, playing some festivals, and everything will be announced on your website, unless you got something now that you want to talk about.
No, well, those are the 2 big ones. You
Yeah.
know, those are the 2 big ones we're excited about. So, but nothing. I mean, probably some summer stuff, but
Yeah.
hopefully, be on
I
the
know,
lookout for that.
it comes up fast,
Yeah.
it comes up really fast. Well, guys, thanks for coming down.
Of course.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here at the Epiphany Center for the Arts.
Awesome space.
Yeah, this is going to be great.
Yeah, wait till it opens. We got to have you guys perform here at some
Absolutely.
point,
Right on.
for
Love
sure. So, of course, chrisgreenjazz.com, jazzinchicago.com, evanstonspace.com. I got all the plugs in. You can see more of these videos at chicagojazz.com, one more .com. And of course, until next time, hopefully they will see you at the gig March 1st or April 3rd, and hopefully I will see you either there or somewhere out